Portuguese flag, even though my beloved I shouldn't say first team, but Brazil got ousted in a stunner by French from 1 second.
See, me, the non-soccer aficionado, like, as I've said before, 95% of all true Americans in this country. I actually got a little background. What's that look for? Did I say something?
I'm just waiting. Waiting with anticipation.
I did
like
good,
Heinz
Paul.
Ketchup.
I did good today.
You did?
My friend Miguel in the other room, who does a show for Seekonk here, for his church, kind of gave me a little background as to, or an update, if you will. There are 3 teams involved: Canada, France. Canada.
Okay, you're doing good so far.
Does Canada even have a soccer team? I'm telling you.
Start
Paul
over.
Bunyan. All right.
Edit.
Portugal, France, who Portugal's never beaten, and Italy. And lately, the last thing, Germany got the ousting. So how do you like that? I know what's going on. I'm a little confused about the whole 3 teams left thing because...
because 2 teams haven't played yet.
In American sports, we're used to having... all 3 teams are in it. I'm confused.
Let me give you a quick rundown.
All right, tell me what's up.
4 teams left.
Yes.
Which even in
Now,
America,
we have to tell people at home that we're talking before tonight's game.
By the time people watch this show, the final will be set for Sunday, July 9th, with 2 teams, obviously.
Right.
So here's the way it happened. This is the way it went down. Obviously, people will have known that already. Italy played Germany, the home team.
Right.
Okay. And
both great teams, right?
Both the traditional powers, if you will, in world soccer. Italy stunned Germany in extra time. They scored 2 quick goals.
So that wasn't supposed to happen.
Well, no. Italy's a power, but Germany's at home, so they get the little extra advantage. Of course,
right.
the bigger crowds. So Italy beat Germany, and as we tape the show today on Wednesday, July 5th. Happy 4th of July to everybody. By the
yes.
way. I mean, we don't have a lot of props.
Celebrating independence by watching soccer. That's great.
4th of July. Happy 4th of July week. Stay safe. But Portugal plays this afternoon against France, who has the favorite team usually in these World Cups, Brazil's number. They've beaten them the last 3 times they played, much to my dismay, because I wanted, obviously, Brazil to move on. So France and Portugal this afternoon, and again, by the time people watch this show,
they'll know
the final on Sunday.
Right.
Saturday they have a game to see who finishes in 3rd, which I really don't care who finishes in 3rd.
Right.
But I'm hoping it's Italy, Portugal, just for this general community. A lot of Italian folks in Federal Hill.
Right.
And obviously we're here in Seekonk, East Providence. We're very close to Portugal and Fall River.
I mean, wouldn't you say, even including the Hispanic community, Portuguese pretty much, takes up this area of southeastern New England.
I mean, East Providence is...
So this is probably as big, actually bigger for this area than any other team that could possibly have advanced.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, on top of that, even though Portugal is very good in the World Cup, they just started that top dominant tier of Germany, Italy, France, England, who ironically Portugal beat in what was a fantastic game. So they're just slightly behind. They're a smaller country. They were always there in the European championships. But this is the farthest they advance, and having Portugal advance to the final of the World Cup would be absolutely unbelievable. And if you read the papers, you saw some articles about local Portuguese establishments that were watching the game. And
making a killing.
I'm very proud of you. I'm holding a serious face, too. I'm just telling these stories, and you're
doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right for myself.
Well, listen,
I come to appreciate the fact that, don't have a heart attack yet here. I'm not appreciating the game by any means. I'm appreciating the fact that it's bigger than the Olympics, in my opinion, because the Olympics, over the past few Olympic things, have sucked anyway. The way that it represents countries, that's why I compare it to
That's
the
the point I've been trying to hammer for the past few weeks.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to appreciate the game, but if you saw the ending of the games,
right?
I mean, you saw grown men and women crying in the stands.
Yeah, good.
So it's been, in Brazil, how here a team goes to a championship or goes to the playoffs, and then they come back home and you get everybody at the airport going, hey, you fellas, good try, fellas.
Right.
Hooray, hurrah. Brazil, which is like a national power, has won the most World Cups. They went back and it was like half a dozen people at the airport.
Are you serious?
So it's such a big thing that people are like, hey, you don't bring home the championship.
Forget about it.
We don't care about you. So
Good luck next year.
I mean, that's the gravity of the whole thing. People don't have to appreciate soccer or like soccer. But, I mean, for these 3, 4, 5 weeks, these respective countries pretty much stop what they're doing. So
now, on a not by your opinion, but on a worldly basis, what are the expectations of these 3 teams? First, starting with the match tonight that we don't know about, as far as the result goes, and then overall versus the big game. What would you say, Sunday?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think...
What are the expectations? Who's expected
Italy
to do it?
is always a powerhouse. Now, Brazil is the favorite almost every year because they're like the hotbed of soccer, if you will, as far as talent goes.
Right.
They're like, just so people understand, they're kind of like the LA Lakers with Showtime. Brazil.
See, I thought it was the women drawing these stars to Brazil, but it's actually some sort of talent correlation
the women
with
could draw
soccer.
Stars. I'd like to go to Carnival myself. It's a sports show, road show in Brazil.
You, let's do it.
No, but Brazil's a heavy favorite. Italy is up there as a powerhouse. The home team is always a big favorite for obvious reasons. They're home, but unless like in 4 years it's in South Africa, whatever team South Africa puts up, they're not going to be as favored as a Germany would be, or even a few 4 years ago in the United States. States, even though they have a slight advantage because they're at home. But Germany, obviously, that was it was a mild upset because it was so close to the final game. France always finds a way to sneak in there. They weren't one of the favorites in this World Cup.
Right.
But they find a way to play well at the end. They got an aging star named Zidane who's like 33, 34 years old, who's still showing flashes of brilliance. So they can sneak in there. Again.
So we're looking at like Portugal versus Italy.
I think Portugal, Italy would be very intriguing. Number one
for this area.
Number one for this area. Number two because Portugal's never been there.
Right.
So it'd be kind of like the underdog versus Italy, who's had some World Cup success in the past. They last won it, I believe, in '82.
Yep.
Haven't done it in a while. So it'd be pretty interesting. And again, it's one game for the whole.
I remember jogging one day years ago when I was younger, and I couldn't jog.
ever remember jogging.
Fair enough.
Maybe a treadmill or something. I don't know. The treadmill was moving.
You haven't even dreamt of jogging for that matter. I remember jogging one day at the park, Kennedy Park down in Fall Rive, and
I hope you didn't get mugged.
I don't know what happened. No, it was during daytime, so it's okay. I don't know what happened, but there were crazy people with flags hanging out of their cars. Now, you're saying Portugal won it back in '82?
No, Italy.
Okay. Portugal, how long ago was that? I want to see if there's a correlation between...
They've never won.
Oh, all right.
They've never gone this
They
far.
must have made it to the final, and there were people going nuts outside their cars.
Now, how long ago was this?
Well, we're talking probably a good 10 years ago. Maybe a little more.
It could have been just Fall River could have been one of many celebrations. Might not even have been associated with the World Cup.
Had nothing to do with soccer whatsoever.
It could have been like a European type cup, but Portugal has never gone this far.
Okay, so what I'm leading to, if it's a Portugal-Italy type thing, okay, you're looking at like Providence, and then for the Italians, of course, and then your Fall River, New Beige area, mixed with some East Providence.
I mean, you have a lot of
little mix of everything.
Seekonk, you know. I just think, especially in this area, if Portugal were to win it.
That's what I'm getting to. Celebration-wise, are we going to see like cars burning? Should I just make sure that I stay home at this point?
Portuguese are gentle people. They're not very violent.
I've seen them get awfully violent over the soccer.
English,
I've seen you get violent over the soccer.
No, I like England per se, but they lost to Portugal at the end of the game on penalty kicks, which is a whole other story. That
right.
But English fans are rowdy. They started throwing rocks, and again, I'm not painting every person from England.
Yeah, they were going nutty.
They've been banned.
I'll bet the Germans were nasty when
they've been banned in the past from
the World Cup
competitions. Yeah,
no kidding.
Because England, it's
a fan thing.
It's a fan thing.
So the team gets banned because of the fans.
Oh, they do. They had. I was back maybe 10, 12 years ago where there's a big riot.
Right around the same time I was jogging.
Probably. They throw rocks and they call them hooligans in England. And, they're passionate about soccer, but they don't like it to lose. So
right.
But listen, it'll be interesting, and obviously on next week's show we'll have the result and maybe a little hoopla.
Now Sunday they play one game for all of it.
That's it.
One
Sunday,
game.
July 9th.
Well, at least we don't have to suffer for too much.
It's not like a best-of-7 series.
How long's a game? 3 hours? How long is it?
45 minutes per half, including obviously a halftime. So it's really.
And in other countries, a half there's still 2 to a whole, so 2 halves.
And under 2 hours.
Oh, that's not bad.
So you don't have to sit there and watch 26
might watch.
26 pitching changes and wait 6.5 hours until the baseball's over.
Come on, where you going? Hey, one more quick soccer note, a personal thing that I thought was kind of interesting. As you know, aside from teaching TV production in the fine town of Seekonk, I run my own wedding video business and thank you. And what happened was this past Saturday, was it this Saturday or Saturday before Portugal played? At any rate, it was...
No, it was this past Saturday. So you were probably right in the middle of a wedding.
I go there, right? Even better than that. Prior to the wedding, I go to the groom's house to get some coverage. Can't cover anything. No one wants to
They're watching TV.
They're all surrounding the TV. Get a kick out of this. I get to the church.
No pun intended.
Yeah, right? I talk to my assistant. He says, all the footage I got was of the women at the bride's house watching soccer. And a couple of American women in the, I saw the footage later, that were in the wedding party. It was funny to see the Portuguese girls were trying to surmise the rules quickly to the American girls. And they were all, so I have both bridal and, I mean, that knocked me away, that the fact that all the girls were surrounding that TV.
This is a historic show here, and it's a sports show. Is this 138?
Show number?
Yes, I believe it's 138. Scott Cray has grown up, ladies and gentlemen. He's actually let the outside world.
She'll tell you
he's let the outside world sink in. He's opened his mind, opened his horizons.
It's so temporary. It's not even funny.
Well,
wait till I watch the game Sunday, and then I'll really be.
When the World Cup is over, I go back to my, Dolphin Paul gig, and I love football and baseball, but. Like I said, every 4 years.
Still got a long ways for football, much to your.
Either that or you just want some more wedding business.
I made up the entire story.
Any Portuguese couples mad at you for teaching business.
Those Portuguese people, they can dance at their weddings, let me tell you.
That's right.
You want to move on away from soccer?
Let's move on. We'll come up with results next week.
All right, baseball. The Boston Red Sox, 12 in a row. Before going 2-1 in the Florida series and now losing. We're at the point now, we're shooting. We lost the first 2 games in the Tampa Bay series. A lot of people all hopped up on that 12-game win streak, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But worse, people are really hopping on the team now for losing 2 to what they feel like is a crappy Tampa Bay bottom cellar team. And I hate to tell people, Tampa Bay is not this bad. Being at the bottom of the AL East, look at what they got to face in front of them. But they're not a bad team at all. I don't know what your thoughts are on the matter.
I think Kurt Schilling said it best. This isn't the old expansion, the Devil Rays there. I don't know what this means. I've heard him say that and Francona say that they jump on fastballs. They're a good fastball hitting team.
Aggressive team.
Red Sox paid the price for it, but, I'm...
3 solo shots to Kurt Schilling, and then 2 prior to that.
I know we joke around with that long season, but they did win 12-13 in a row.
Right.
We all know they've been playing slightly better at home.
Yes.
They were hot at home, had some great games. Now they're on the road to play a team that's not that good. I don't want to say it's a letdown thing, but I think they'll rebound from this. The Yankees are losing, so it's not like they're losing a lot of ground.
Right.
And I also think the most encouraging thing of all this is the spot situations where these young guys are getting a look.
Right.
The Del Carmens, the Hansons.
Perfect time, and they're going against crappy teams lately.
These guys are almost at a point where I think you can almost just put them in and use them and get rid of the Cianez's and Julian Tavares's. So
Tavares has been tough, man.
That's encouraging. Papelbon is still dominant. He got voted into the All-Star game, which I guess we're going to talk about. There's a lot of different things here. So, we'll have to see in the next week's show how they. I think they'll bounce out of that. I still think, I know you got the list there. They did play some crappy teams when they had their 12-13.
That's what I wanted to talk about with the 12 in a row. I'm not taking anything away because they should beat these teams, but let's keep a sense of realism as to how good this Red Sox team is. A lot of people are thinking that they are just playing at the highest level on the planet, and they're not. They're playing teams that are pretty crappy. First, they took the Atlanta series, who, by the way, Atlanta's 12 games under 500. Washington was next. They took 3 away from them, who, by the way, is 11 games under 500. Then they went to Philly, took that series 3 in a row, 6 games under 500. We're talking the NL East, right? That's the East.
Yep.
Yeah, NL East, one of the crappiest divisions in all of baseball. Now, here's where I give them a little credit. They swept the Mets, including a Pedro start where Pedro got shellacked in that second game of that series. I'll give them credit. They're 15 above. I give them all the credit in the world for the Mets sweep. But aside from that, you add this up, the first 3 teams you faced are a combined 29 games below 500. They're crappy teams. Again, you should beat crappy teams. I'm not taking anything away from the fact that they completely swept them, but don't put the Red Sox at that much of a higher level.
Well, let's, as you did such diligent homework.
That's about all I got today.
Here's another thing that you can look at on that list. What do all those teams have in common?
Crappy pitching?
The National League teams.
Right.
So the American League right now has all the young pitching.
We could do a whole show on the dominance of the American League.
The National League. But again, I joke around with baseball's a long season. I don't care who you play. 12, 13 in a row without errors. They set a major league record, I believe it was 17 games in a row without an error.
Right. That's impressive.
It's still pretty good baseball. Yeah, look, they're 19 games over 500.
Right.
And once again, I always joke. I mean, unfortunately, baseball is a game where you kind of, it's fun to talk about, but you've got to expect these oscillations, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Right now they lost 2 in a row against Tampa as we tape the show. Hopefully they'll bounce back. But we'll take a look at that. It's not like the Yankees are on fire either. So, I mean, right now that's who they have.
Well, the Yankees are still hurting at this point with Sheffield, Matsui.
They've had some injuries, and they've done a great job.
I think their injury relations are going to go for a long time now.
I just think this is a great opportunity with a little bit of breathing room. The Sox have to develop these pitchers, keep developing them.
Yes.
If they could get 1 or 2 guys here who could really, develop into a solid pitcher, even this year, boy, that would give you a whole new look going into the playoffs. I mean, if you got, Schillen and Beckett, who's pitching well, Clement, who knows what's happening, Wakefield, you throw in a Hansen, I mean, the middle relief with Papelbon at the end. If you get a lead, basically, it's almost over.
Sure.
And let's not forget one thing. I don't care if it's National League, or Japan League, or Mexican League, these role players we talked about earlier, and once again, I'll give you credit. I rarely do, but this time I'll give you credit. Mike Lowell has been terrific.
He's in that 5.
He probably should have been in the All-Star, maybe picked by the coach, but that's a whole other scenario.
Right.
The whole thing's a joke anyway. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Loretta, I mean, how good has this guy been?
All-Star?
Youkilis, I never thought.
Right.
Again, I talked about this before. To me, the guy was a lifetime utility player.
Right.
He has played fantastic.
Well,
this guy he took over for Coco Crisp. He has played fantastic in the field, running the bases, and hitting.
And now because of that, you have Crisp in the 8 spot. It makes you kind of wonder if, had Youkilis kept this up, and would they have gone for a Crisp type? Because Crisp is a leadoff guy with speed,
but it's
and
great
he's
to
not
have
being utilized.
Both, though.
Yeah.
It's great to have both. The payroll isn't that high with these 2 guys with Youkilis.
True.
The same thing with the pitching. I mean, if we get these guys on board, the payroll's not going to balloon, at least not yet.
Right.
And Alex Gonzalez, let's give him some credit.
Oh.
Great defensive shortstop. Everybody knows that.
Like I said,
and
if he bats 240, I'm thrilled.
Right.
Thrilled.
And his average, a past month and a half, is probably around 300.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was so low that it took him a while to bring it up. But,
it's funny.
This is we got to give Theo a little bit of credit. I know the middle relief he's never done a good job with.
Right.
We can go back to the Bradfords and the Myers, but I'll tell you, this was a good cast of players, good chemistry with these players that have filled roles and filled them real well. So
young players, too, where you can look forward to this for a while at this point.
It's a good mix right now. So
completely opposite of the Yankees. Injuries aside, let's say you get all the guys that are injured, put them into the lineup. You couldn't be more opposite. They have nothing but pure power all the way through. Defensively, though, other than maybe on that third base side, looking at great defense throughout this team, whereas with the Red Sox, you've sacrificed some of that power to get that defense. Man, it takes a lot to get that ball through that infield.
But defense and pitching, we talked about that before. I mean,
how about the Crisp catch that people are still talking about out in center field, diving?
Wait a minute. That's a great catch. But let's go. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well,
Gary Matthews of Texas.
Okay, I missed that one.
You missed that catch?
Yeah. Was that a steal, too?
It's probably, you can check it on MLB.com for you folks.
When did it happen?
They talked about this on Sports Radio. And not to agree with my buddy Scott Codishi because he mentioned it. But when
you agree with Scott Codishi? That ain't ever going to happen.
I'm sucking up to it, but when I saw the catch, I said this could possibly be the best catch I have ever seen.
Really?
MLB.com, we'll check it out after
Gary
the show.
Matthews, what day did it happen, just so our viewers can look it up?
It was sometime
over
last
the
week.
Okay.
He climbed the wall, remember, a la Bo Jackson.
Oh, you know what, dude? I think I did see that.
But he didn't just climb the wall and turn around and catch it. He climbed the wall, went over the wall, and snagged it. I mean, it wasn't like, the ball's falling over the wall.
Right,
he
right.
climbed the wall and just swatted it out of the air.
I think I did see that.
To me, that could, in the top
You're
two, the best
speechless.
catch. No, it was.
You're speechless.
It was an unbelievable catch.
I think I did see that. And then when he came down, it looked like he fell like 20 feet.
Well, he was up so high.
Right.
And I mean, he took the ball literally. It wasn't just
I think
over
I
the
did
wall.
see that.
I mean, he climbed up, but not only do you climb up, now you have to look for the ball. So it was like he was in midair and just snagged the ball, and he was way over the wall.
Impressive
I
stuff.
thought that was impressive. It
Nothing
even
you or
impressed
I
me.
could do.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'd run through the wall. I'd be like on the cartoons.
So we saw already early this season someone tried running through a wall. They broke their darn nose. See, with plays like that, maybe it wouldn't be such a long season for you.
Now, the All-Star break is coming up. I don't
Yep.
know. I mean, we talk about this every year.
Yeah, well, the big thing is who got ripped this year from the Red Sox, and this year's candidate was Curt Schilling. Certainly well-deserved, although this year you can't really take him and put him in place of someone that did make the All-Star team. It seems like everybody on the All-Star team is deserved. Just Curt Schilling didn't make it.
This comes up every year. Here's one of the problems. Unfortunately, I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. Each team has to have a representative.
Apparently.
I know some people
which is
are
kind of
against
a
that.
joke. I'm someone that's
I'm
purely
kind of
against.
for it because it is an all-star game. Each team should be somewhat represented. If they were to take that out, I would say the fan vote couldn't be involved because nobody would ever be voted in from a Kansas City Royals.
Because they could care less.
I mean, it is an exhibition. Each team should be representative, and that leads me to this stupid rule they came up with that the winner of the All-Star game gets home field advantage in the World Series. I'm sorry, this is crap. This is stupid.
Okay, tell us how you really feel.
Well, I think an All-Star game should be an All-Star game. It should be a fun game. Let different people play. Let the guy from Kansas City Royals to go in for an inning, whoever he is, or
Mark Redmond.
Who
essentially...
Well, his name has been coming up a lot.
Because if you look at it, he'd be the guy that would get the boot for Curt Schilling, but because you have to have a representative of every team, Mark Redmond from Kansas City turns out to be the best player.
This is a celebration of baseball. Don't you agree?
Yes.
I mean, I know a lot of people say, well, it's great to have the game meaning something because the manager in the 8th inning, he can make this great. I don't want to see...
First of all, the manager has half their team playing for them.
I mean, I don't want to see the manager make a critical move. It's an all-star game.
Yeah.
I think it should be fun. It's like NBA basketball or hockey. If you watch those all-star games, they're kind of fun because the rules are out the window. There's dunks. They throw it against the backboard. In hockey, there's no real hard checking, so it's a wide-open game. The score's like 8-6.
Hockey and basketball, particularly basketball, has a chance to not mean something and still be interesting, whereas baseball, I'll have to even say myself, it's a boring game if it doesn't mean something. I think that's why they had to make these changes. There's just no interest in it whatsoever because the players didn't care up until this point.
Okay,
does it really matter?
The guy
American
from Tampa
League.
Bay, the Devil Rays, are going to go, I really need to get a hit here.
No, I know.
You know what? Because Tampa Bay could be in the World Series in about 40 years. I mean, I am the proponent of coming up with a system. Either go back to how it was, the rotation, American League, National League, or my system would be plain and simple, best record in
I agree
baseball.
with that.
Yeah, you're going to have a weaker division in the National League, just like football. The Patriots might win in a tougher division, whereas the Colts might win in a not-so-tough division, but overall, they get the top seed. Very simple.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Best record in baseball.
They earned it throughout the entire season. Like you say, it's a long season.
Even towards the end of the year also,
yes,
you could win a few more games. If you're tied with, let's say, Boston, you got 3 games to go, and you're up in your division by 15 games, hey, you know what?
You might not slack and sit Manny,
you might
knowing your own division's okay.
You might want to have your number 1 guy pitch. I mean, I think it's very simple. I mean,
I agree.
The best record, you get home field. You play whoever, you got a better record than they do. I'm not a fan of it. I think I've made that clear.
Apparently. So do you even watch the All-Star game? You care as far as seeing how your own guys play?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the All-Star game is interesting. I just, to put this meaning into it, I know that all came about
How important
a few years
is
ago.
the meaning, though, when you look at how dominant the American League is to the National League this year? Honestly, do you see any National League team having a chance against, whether it be the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Chicago White Sox, maybe the Detroit Tigers?
Well, they have a better chance if they go 4 games at home.
I guess. I think it's a moot point this year.
Again, my problem is, you're in the National League. If you're, if you're Pedro, you're like, hey, you know what? If we get home field,
right,
maybe we'll play the Red Sox. At least we get an extra game at home.
Right.
But if you're somebody from one of these crappy teams, and chances are Pedro would have played already. I mean, let's face it. I mean, how much harder are these players going to play the last couple innings to get home field? I just don't see it.
We'll both be watching the All-Star game. We'll kind of see if we can make some determinations within the game.
We'll review it.
Not just how players play. I think they're going to play their hearts out. I don't think anyone's going to slack off. But it'll be interesting to see what role the managers play in all this in order to make sure they win the game, as opposed to making sure that they get everybody in.
Do you put in a Mark Redmond? So what's the point? Is it just to make the team? I mean,
that's even worse if you don't put Redmond in for shilling lovers, because
you leave a guy in for an extra inning or two.
I think so.
I mean, I think
so.
I just
when
don't
you have players like Burley, Contreras, Halladay, why would you put in Mark Redmond, maybe Scott Kazmir, who I can't say anything bad about him the way he just beat up on Boston.
He's the Red Sox daddies.
Oh, what was a 4-hitter against the Red Sox? Ridiculous. So that'd be interesting to see. Notables, obviously, who made the All-Star game for Boston. How much time left? 2 minutes. David Ortiz, we spoke about as a DH, makes the team. You got to expect that. Manny, Mark Loretta. And then, of course, you already spoke about Jonathan Papelbon. So that rounds out from Boston, sending 4 players over.
And bringing out those guys, I think we should maybe come up with some mid-season awards once we get to the All-Star break on the Red Sox. There's a lot of interesting characters, MVP and so forth.
Absolutely.
One more thing I'd like to mention.
Go for it.
Well,
does that have to do with soccer?
No.
Baseball?
Golf.
Oh, boy.
Well, the Newport U.S. Women's Open was here in Rhode Island. I just thought it was a fantastic event for Rhode Island.
Sure.
It was interesting watching it on TV because I'm familiar with the course. And Annika Sorenstam.
Familiar in the fact that you've played it, or
no? I haven't played it, but I've walked it and I saw the layout and everything.
So you were Scott Kodishi's caddy, is what you're saying?
No, I'd like to play it.
Scott would appreciate hearing that.
I eventually will, but I thought it was a great event in Rhode Island. Got a lot of exposure.
Now they changed the course around a little, not just flipping the front and back nine, but actually changed the layout of the course.
Well, yeah, you have to in the U.S. Opens. I played real tough, but Annika Sorenstam and Patricia Hurst played to a sudden death, and Annika Sorenstam was by far the woman's greatest golfer.
Right.
Played, and I know we don't have enough time today, but we can talk a little bit maybe in the next show about Michelle Wie.
I was going to ask you about that.
Who had a very impressive performance. Was only a couple shots off, and she's only 16.
Right.
People putting a ton of pressure on her, but I mean,
including her own family. She's got to relax a little.
The reason they changed the nines, just to clarify that, is because the 9th hole, the 18th, I'm sorry, as it was constituted for the members, cannot hold the corporate gallery. So the corporate people pay a lot of money. So the 9th hole.
So they flipped it so that the 9th hole can hold all the big wigs.
It became the 18th. That's essentially the.
I hope one day I'm a big enough big wig to change an entire course. That's what I'm going to. And I'll let you play on it. How do you like that?
Happy 4th of July.
Great holiday, everyone. Thanks to Jen for running the show today. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Keep those emails coming. And we will see you next week. We'll know the results of soccer. And little all-star post stuff going, too. Keep it going, Paul.
No flags. You know, this is a show without props. We're just imaginary show.
It's a show without flags.
Okay, Ozzy.
Well, yeah. We going to black?